Hey everyone, welcome back to my next book preview video. This week we have another Frank Cho book. We've got the Art of Frank Cho 20-year retrospective. A quick look at the front and back there. There you go. You might have noticed when you saw this side there just how thick this book is. In fact, let's take a look. Over 330 pages. Let's get straight into this one. I did buy mine secondhand, so you might notice some sort of minor damage. It's quite difficult to get hold of this one new because it has been out a little while. The pages are glossy, so you're going to notice a little bit of a reflection up here, unfortunately, with my setup, but hopefully it's not too bad. Let's take a quick look at the contents there. Feel free to pause the video if you need to take a look properly. You can see it's got a range of pretty much all of his work, I think, but there is a huge range. You might notice there with the Marvel. There's like almost 100 pages dedicated to that. I don't know how much nudity there is in this one compared to his other books, but if you've watched any of my other videos, you probably used to hear me saying, in the Frank Cho ones at least, I'm going to have to skip a few sections that are not suitable for YouTube, unfortunately. This here is sort of a common, like, Frank Cho book layout where you've got the inking on one side, or maybe pencil on one side, followed by the inking on the other side. In this case, inking on one side, followed by the coloured rendered version on the other side. And he does mention in this one, in fact, I quite like that it does this. It's got a little bit of information with every picture saying, a little bit of information, maybe the background, something very brief, but also who coloured it. And it's quite interesting. It gave me a few more artists to follow on social media and things like that. And you'll probably recognize a lot of the artwork because the main downside to the Frank Cho books that I always say, and it's really not that big of a deal, but is that there is a big overlap in the books and the artwork, mainly because there are so many books. That being said, this is, of course, the 20-year retrospective, so obviously this is the one that is going to have overlap in if you do own any of the other books already. Speaking of the other books, if you do want to check out more of Frank Cho's work, I do have videos on these books and more. These are just what I had to hand, so definitely check those out. I will put links in the description box below. Trust me, they are all absolutely awesome. But moving on, just what I was talking about there, one thing to note is I don't think Frank colours much of his own work. I think he has like colourists that do that for him. To be honest, I always think that a lot of them look better in the sketch and the inking work. He's very, very good at inking, and you'll see that throughout. He's absolutely incredible. A lot of you guys watching this will already know probably more about Frank Cho than I do. But if you don't, he's very well known for drawing apes, dinosaurs, and women. Especially attractive, let's be honest, busty, athletic ladies. And also superheroes and villains and things like that. But you will see throughout, he's also got these range of like creatures and dragons and things like that, and they are all really cool. And again, one of the things he's really well known for is this sort of like Jungle Girl and Shanna the She-Devil and Liberty Meadows and graphic novels and things like that. So you'll see that spread throughout. I haven't actually read many of the comics myself, but I really can appreciate the artwork. This one is actually the cover of one of his sketches and scribbles books, which is just basically a sketchbook. I surprisingly haven't managed to get hold of one of those yet. But some of the artwork in here is just mind-blowing. I mean, let me lift this up a second. In fact, there's a coloured version on the next page, but look how much detail is in this one. I did actually read about this one, and I know that I think he did the foreground, and another artist did the background. There's the fully coloured version, which is still pretty damn cool. So this book was originally a Kickstarter book. I think quite a lot of the Flesk publisher books are, to be honest. I missed out on this one, but I've been after it for a while, but it can get quite high in terms of price range before. And also I was a little bit worried because I own so many of his books, and as mentioned, there's an overlap. I kind of thought, am I going to be disappointed? Do I already own all of the artwork in here? And let me tell you, I was not disappointed. This book is absolutely awesome if you're a Frank Cho fan. Probably my favourite one so far, maybe if nothing else, because not only is the artwork phenomenal, but obviously it's 330 pages, so there's a lot to like. There really is a lot to like. Another of his comics here are graphic novels, Skyborn, and also Fight Girls. I've been looking at buying that one as well recently. If you own any of the Frank Cho comics, do let me know what you think to them, if there's any that you would recommend or any that you wouldn't even. But seeing Frank Cho's pencil work and especially his inking skills, it's absolutely mind-blowing. And he's got so much work as well. I know this is a 20-year retrospective, so obviously he has been doing it a little while. When I flicked through this, I read some of the captions, and he actually talked about some of these being like independent comics that he hasn't published yet, just things that he's been working on and ideas and things like that, characters he's created. I think this was one, for example, or at least at the time of the release of this book. I'm not sure if any stuff like this has been released since, but to say he hasn't released it, it's incredibly well polished, the pages that he's shown here at least. If you're not familiar with Frank Cho, he does incredible work with a ballpoint pen as well, almost with this I guess it's a cross-hatching technique that it's incredible. In fact, I do have another book preview video, again, for the ballpoint pen work. This is the Ballpoint Pen Beauties, which, as the name suggests, is looking at pinups. He also does some painting work, so I take back what I said about his work being coloured by other people. He does colour some of his own work. Now, I need to probably speed up a little bit because there's so much work in this book that it could be a massively long video. We're up to the superhero section here. I can't remember whether it was specifically Marvel or whether it's Marvel and DC, because he has worked on both. Surprisingly, I haven't actually had to blank out much nudity yet in this one compared to his other books. So if you want to see nudity, feel free to check out the other books. But one of the few books of his that I don't own is the Marvel one. I think it's called something like a Marvel monograph. And I was tempted to get it, but then I saw how many pages of Marvel was in this book, and I thought, maybe I'll get this one instead, and maybe it'll cover most of it. Plus, it gives me a good excuse to buy this huge book. This is the cover on the one that I'm referring to, by the way. I actually just got finished recording a Art of Arthur Adams book as well, some of his sketchbooks. And I mentioned that because Frank Cho does talk about Arthur Adams being one of his sort of influences, that's influenced his art styles. So, especially if you like the pin-up girls, the sexy ladies, definitely check those out. Again, links below. I will also put links to where I bought this from in the description box below, because, as mentioned earlier, it can get pricey, this one. It is a limited edition run, I believe. I definitely recommend this one. If you're only ever going to get one Frank Cho book, I would actually get this one. It's just got so much work in here. None of it is bad. It's all absolutely incredible. Again, this is a comic book cover, or a graphic novel cover. But so far, you guys have been loving the Frank Cho books. Out of all my book preview videos I've done, and there is a lot of them, I have definitely found the ones with the pin-up artists or the beautiful female drawings, whatever you want to call them, seem to be the most popular, and especially the Frank Cho ones. You guys seem to absolutely love them, and I do not blame you, because so do I. Okay, so it was specifically Marvel earlier because we are onto the DC section now. I'm more of a Marvel guy than DC myself, but each their own. And at the time of me releasing this book, I am under the impression that the publisher, Flesk, are actually working on another book with Frank Cho. I'm not sure how far along it is. I don't know anything about it really. I'm not sure what the content specifically will be, but I am really intrigued about it. But that's pretty much it, guys. There's still 30 pages left. I'm skipping a ton at a time. But I hope you found this video useful. If you wanted to see what was inside the book, let me know below which are your favourite drawings by Frank Cho, favourite comics, which you would recommend, which you wouldn't. Thanks so much for watching, everyone.